Presented by Listen Headlines, latest world news from trusted sources. Updating daily at 6 a.m. New York. New York Times World News.
June 27, 5:17 America, New York. Exiled mayor of Sievierodonetsk talks of dire situation. Mayor Alexander Striuk of Sievierodonetsk described a city battered and in many places leveled by Russian artillery, where the few thousand remaining civilians faced dire conditions. A Ukrainian soldier in Sievierodonetsk last week.
New York Times World News. June 27, 5 o'clock America, New York, documenting India's distinctive birdhouses. For 7 years, a photographer based in Delhi has collected images of ornamental structures known as chaubutras. Here are some of his favorites. A large birdhouse in the village of Sinugra, in the western state of Gujarat.
Mirror World News.
June 27, 4:57 America, New York. Bar has to say sorry for blasphemous offer of free gin to all men named Muhammad. Holy Wings, in Indonesia, also offered a bottle of Gordon's pink gin for women named Maria as part of the promotion. They later said 6 employees have been arrested over the promotion.
Mirror World News.
June 27, 4:44 America, New York. Man finds preserved 35,000-year-old woolly mammoth with hair and skin still intact. The ancient woolly mammoth, named Nuncho Ga, was found in Alaska, U.S., in almost perfect condition with her trunk, tail, tiny ears and even some of her hair still intact.
Washington Post World.
June 27, 4:41 America, New York, Sudan. Ethiopia kills 7 captive Sudanese soldiers, civilian. Sudan's military says Ethiopia has killed 7 Sudanese soldiers and a civilian who were held captive by Addis Ababa.
The Washington Times stories. Advocacy.
June 27, 3:52 America, New York. Live updates. Germany's Scholz, West won't torpedo G20. The latest on the G7 summit, the annual meeting of the leading democratic economies, which this year is being held in the Bavarian Alps in Germany.
New York Times World News.
June 27, 3:18 America, New York. Russia appears closer to falling into default as grace period ends. This default would be unusual because it would be a result of economic sanctions blocking transactions, not because the government has run out of money. The Russian Central Bank headquarters in Moscow.
World News. Breaking international news and headlines, Sky News.
June 27, 2:59 America, New York. Beijing chief says city to maintain zero COVID policy for next 5 years before time reference removed. Beijing said the city would persist with its zero COVID policies over the next 5 years, although it quickly removed reference to a time period in the announcement. A COVID testing site in Beijing.
Washington Post World.
June 27, 2:53 America, New York. Russia defaults on foreign debt for first time since 1918. What to know? Western sanctions punishing Moscow for invading Ukraine have restricted its ability to pay overseas creditors.
Washington Post World.
June 27, 2:43 America, New York. Knife attacker kills 1, wounds 5 at German asylum shelter. A knife-wielding attacker has stabbed several people in a shelter for asylum seekers in southern Germany, killing 1 man and wounding at least 5 people.
BBC News World.
June 27, 2:31 America, New York. Sydney climate protests. Activists block streets and Harbour Tunnel. The protesters say their actions are urgently needed, but police label them violent and erratic.
Time.
June 27, 1:45 America, New York. Stars use BET Awards stage to criticize Roe v. Wade ruling. Los Angeles, Taraji P. Henson, Janelle Monáe and Jasmine Sullivan were some of the big stars using the BET Awards stage to strongly criticize the Supreme Court's recent decision to strip away women's constitutional protection for abortion. World News. Breaking international news and headlines, Sky News.
June 27, 0:59 America, New York. Russia in first foreign debt default in over a century, bondholders claim. Russia has reportedly missed a deadline to pay investors of its international bonds, a scenario that would place it in default for the first time since the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution. Russia is now the most sanctioned country in the world.
BBC News World.
June 27, 0:41 America, New York. G7 Summit. Leaders detail $600 billion plan to rival China's Belt and Road Initiative. The revamped plan will see fresh funds being injected into development projects in Asia and Africa.
World News. Breaking international news and headlines, Sky News.
June 27. 037 America, New York. Wives and partners of G7 leaders hold their own summit as they try out Nordic walking. Wives and partners of the G7 leaders have held their own summit, one somewhat more active than the tense diplomatic talks going on in the halls of the Schloss Elmau Alpine Resort. The 26th of June 2022, Bavaria, Elmau. Christian Naruther, former professional skier. BBC News World.
June 27. 022 America, New York. Japan urges 37 million people to switch off lights. Officials have asked people in Tokyo and its surrounding area to turn off lights amid a heatwave.